The world champion Australian Diamonds face their toughest task so far in these Delhi Commonwealth Games against the world number 4, the Sunshine Girls from Jamaica. This time a year ago in October 2009, the Jamaicans caused a boil-over to beat the Aussies 56-55. And the danger for Australia here, former silver fern Tanya Dalton, is that the Sunshine Girls will pull out another one of those freakish performances today.
That's right, Jamaica, they've got the ability on any given day to pull something special out of the bag. Whether they can push these Aussie Diamonds, I do not know. I seriously think the Aussies will be too fast, but hey, I may be proven wrong.
Well, earlier today we saw the English side really push the Silver Fern, so it does just go to show, because the English side looked particularly sluggish in their lead-up games, and you can probably say the same of the Jamaicans.
Yeah, and like I said, the Jamaica, they can pull it out. They've got the talent. I know Jill McIntosh, the former Australian coach, has been in Jamaica. She said player for player, the players are equal. It's the mental toughness of these Jamaican girls. If they can get on a high, they can pull away, but it's a matter, I think, of them starting strong.
2 matches here this afternoon at Tiagaraj Stadium. This one, the big one though, it's the most important match of the world champions pool against the Jamaicans. And later, Barbados and Papua New Guinea will square off. We've seen some really great matches between the minnows as well, haven't we?
Oh, outstanding. It's just been a fantastic atmosphere here. I guess the crowds have come and gone, but it's growing as the week goes. We saw a great one this morning, New Zealand up against England, and I'm sure we're in for a humdinger here now.
So the world champions, Australia, set for their sternest test. It's against the Sunshine Girls, Jamaica. And this for supremacy in what is an incredibly tough pool. Group A, Australia, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Malawi, Samoa, and the host nation, India. And when you talk about the business end of this championship, the importance of victory in a game like this, Tanya, just can't be overstated.
Well, to come out on top of your pool is the aim for all teams, and we've seen New Zealand, you know, push to beat England, and I'm sure Aussie will have targeted this match heading into these Commonwealth Games, knowing this is the big one, the first hurdle that they have got to get through.
Well, a good handful of Australian supporters in the crowd here this morning. Well, a huge contingent of New Zealanders came out to support the Silver Ferns. A lot of athletes, the chef de mission, and speak of the devil, Silver Ferns getting a little bit of reconnaissance, watching their arch foes, or 2 of their arch foes, in action in Jamaica and Australia. The umpires for this match, Mandy Nottingham, from New Zealand, of course, is Mandy Nottingham, and Judith Groves from Great Britain. The reserve umpire, another Kiwi, John O'Brien. And that's been one of the wonderful things about covering this tournament, Tanya Dalton, is that everywhere you look at this netball venue, there are New Zealanders.
Yeah, and it has been nice, and it's amazing hearing everyone's stories, their experiences that they're having here in Delhi. You know, there's been sometimes a few mix-ups here and there, but at the end of the day, we're here, everybody's here, and they're enjoying it.
Well, as I touch wood, as we speak, this has been the first muck-up free day at the netball. We had a delay on game 1 as the Trinidad and Tobago team were taken to the wrong venue by their bus driver, and then on day 2, no one could find a ladder to replace the net, so an 8-minute delay I think it was on that match as well. So it's been interesting times here in Delhi, but the teams themselves say that they're not affected by any of these hiccups. They're just getting on with playing a Commonwealth Games netball tournament. This match, such an important one at Tiagaraj Stadium. It's the world champions, Australia. They're up against the Sunshine Girls in Jamaica. Plenty of familiar players on both sides, with ANZ Championship players galore out there, Tanya Dalton.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the likes of Romelda Aitken. She's played against all these Aussie girls. She knows what it's like. They've got experience. The Jamaicans, Simone Forbes, she's been around for a long time. Althea Byfield, Casey Evering for Jamaica, the goal defender. She's been away from the game for 3 years, but obviously Coach Connie Francis just knows the experience she brings to this side. So they'll be doing everything in their power to push this Diamond side.
Pre-com games, a lot of the talk had been surrounding Romelda Aiken, but there's been the emergence of another young shooter from Jamaica at this tournament, and Janelle Fowler, 21 years old, she's 1.96 m, and it's almost like they've cloned Romelda. She's had a couple of really good games so far.
Yeah, it's her athletic ability, the way she's taking the ball. She's playing like she's been around for years, and you know, I saw a quote. She wants to be one of the world's most dominant shooters. She wants to follow her teammates, you know, Althea Byfield, Romelda Aiken, and get the nod and get picked up by an ANZ Championship team. So I'm sure that all the ANZ Championship coaches will be looking at her.
The Australian Diamonds leading into this one, a 76-39 win over Samoa, and then 113-18 over the host nation, India. But you could see them going through their work and getting everything that they could out of those two matches, despite the golf-like margins.
Yeah, I guess for all the top teams, you know, they're mixing up their combinations. The coaches, Norma Plummer, she knows what she's doing. For the Australian Diamonds, they've recently just had a 3-test series against this Jamaican side where they won quite comfortably, all three. But the Jamaican side has changed a bit. The likes of Simone Forbes, their captain wasn't even there, so they won't be taking anything for granted.
We're talking to former Australian captain Liz Ellis pre-match, and Liz said she's a bit fluttery about this one. She said the Australians are always wary of this Jamaican team. They know that they really can, if push comes to shove, just pull a rabbit out of the hat and come out with one of those, you know, sublime performances that we know they're capable of.
Yeah, well, you look at the Jamaican side, you know, the athletic ability of each of these players, you know, their flair, the way they take the ball, the way they feed the ball, and I guess with the likes of a Romelda Aiken or a Janelle Fowler down the back. So, yep, you would never want to underestimate the Jamaican girls.
Pretty much a United Nations in the crowd. We've seen all sorts of shots from all sorts of countries in the starting seven for Australia. The short and mobile goal shooting circle, then Green, Von Berto, Hallinan through the midcourt. Monia Gerard and Susan Furman again gets the start at goalkeep.
Yeah, Laura Geitz has been a player that's put her hand up and said, hey, I should be in the starting seven, but against opposition, the height of Romelda Aiken, I think Susan Furman is the one for the job.
And for Jamaica, well, Romelda Aiken does get the start ahead of another 21-year-old Janelle Fowler. And then through the midcourt, plenty of strength led by Nadine Bryan. On defence, Casey Evering, who we'll be seeing in the ANZ Championship next year in New Zealand, and Althea Byfield. So a multitude of talent there.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we've seen them throughout the last couple of games. Evering and Byfield, I think they're getting better and better. They're getting deflections, a number of clean intercepts. And I think the key for them is keeping up with that mobile shooting circle. It's just so quick in the way they fire that ball around.
Teams getting called onto the court for this all-important match between the world champions Australia and the Sunshine Girls Jamaica. This is the most crucial match of the pool for these teams. It will decide who will finish the pool on top. Fantastic one-on-one clashes right through court for this one. And it's always a feisty encounter when the Sunshine Girls face off against the world champions. New Zealand umpire Mandy Nottingham hands the ball to Paula Thompson. And we're underway. Australia against Jamaica, Tiadaraj Stadium in New Delhi, Commonwealth Games. Goes straight for the big bomb. Romelda Aiken marked by Susan Furman. And Tanya, they're exactly the same height. That's a rarity.
I'm sure this is our matchup I am really looking forward to. Will Jamaica keep putting that big bomb into Aiken?
Both 1.96 m, so talk about tall timber.
And just such a contrast down the other end. The speed of Medhurst and McMahon.
Althea Byfield's been penalised early. And Medhurst just restores her bib. The offload. I expect to see a lot of ball movement between McMahon and Medhurst. Easy does it for Australia on the board.
And Natalie Medhurst, 98% shooting stats for her at this Commonwealth Games.
Gee, Romelda Aiken just plucked that out of thin air.
And I guess for her, Janelle Fowler on the sideline, we've seen her get a lot of court time, so Aitken doesn't do the bizzo.
The Aussies work it tidily through court. And this time, Sasha Gay-Henry will be... No, instead, the penalty in the circle, Byfield. So the Jamaican defence really needing to tidy up if they're not to be penalised out of the game.
And Aitken coming right out of the circle, showing her mobility.
Well, a misunderstanding, a pass that wasn't quite placed correctly for Romelda Aiken. And the Aussies will want to make the most of it. Hallinan on the transverse line, offloads to Medhurst, and Althea Byfield, brilliant.
And when she takes those balls so clean, hangs in the air. Susan Furman, she'll need to adjust to Kiwi umpire Mandy Nottingham.
Yep, she does just hang in the air. She's almost cat-like, Althea Byfield. And I think we can expect a number of Byfield intercepts, because when she turns on a big game performance, she's out hunting just about all game. Nadine Bryan now. And this time the Jamaicans patiently work their way through court. Simone Forbes. And turnover number one, Susan Furman. Just another misunderstanding.
And not enough gas on that pass.
Strong lean Byfield, but Sherelle McMahon's up to it.
And Monia Gerard tight, man-on-man marking off the centre pass.
The big hook pass and the lob to Aiken, but Furman again, that's two in a row.
And for Jamaica, those passes probably usually get there. But like you said earlier, Reg, both the same height, so they're going to have to put a bit more on it.
Oh, Sherelle McMahon wonders what that was for. Hammer away again, Jamaica. Forbes. That was more like it.
Well, they've messed up the last two, so Forbes, extremely experienced player. Beautiful feed up.
The Aussies need to reset, and Bonberto is such a seasoned campaigner. She's so good at settling her troops. McMahon converts. We talk so much about the Australian circle defensive combination, but Renee Hallinan, she's really having a fine Commonwealth game so far. Aiken gives it the stalk, needs to go out and out again. Simone Forbes, tidy work to get close.
And she's opting to get the little pop over to Aiken.
So this game's just over 5 minutes old, and it's Jamaica just a nose in front, 5-4. And turnovers are plenty, so both of these teams really taking their time to settle in.
Similar sort of start we saw in the Ferns English game.
Green tries to ignite something. She goes and goes again. But Byfield and Evering doing a pretty fine job on the smaller, more mobile Australian circle. Smooth finish in Medhurst. Nadine Bryan and Thompson combining really well on the circle edge, keeping their angles nice and short. And Forbes finishes eventually.
Yeah, stepping in on that.
Green on the goal attack side. Casey Evering called for an arm movement, so basically obstruction around the player.
Yeah, and a screen set by Medhurst.
Just a magical little offload. That brings the Australian Diamonds level to their old foes, Jamaica, the Sunshine Girls.
Furman there, just getting caught behind, giving Aitken that front space.
And those little pop passes between Simone Forbes and Romelda Aiken, a real feature of this Jamaican game. Hallinan now finds Green.
Evering and Byfield just work their footwork. They try to keep up with the Aussie shooters.
So we're just over halfway through the first quarter, and it's goal for goal. Eight to 7 between the Jamaicans and the Australians. It's the Jamaicans just in front in this crucial pool match here at Tiagaraj Stadium. Sherelle McMahon, lovely move.
She likes it.
And good work off the ball this time, Romelda Aiken. She can often be guilty of being really stationary.
She's putting on a nice hold. Furman's just getting a little bit caught in behind, which is giving the Jamaican feeders a beautiful space.
And there goes Althea Byfield.
And Byfield, she's key for the success of this Jamaican side here today. We've seen her come and go in games when she's on.
When she's on, it's spectacular. Forbes now. The high five between she and Aiken, they like it.
And an important break there for Jamaica.
Moni Gerard has a stab, but it won't be good, and the penalty's marched. Something we haven't seen too much of. Forbes now steps away from Gerard.
Showing her experience.
Medhurst now, the Australians in arrears by 3.
The combination of Evering and Byfield working well. You can feel that bond, that communication. But Australia's still shooting at 100%.
And Nadine Bryan just popping the ball beautifully. It's almost a lollipop pass, but it's sitting just right, isn't it, into Aiken?
And Aiken, you'd have to say, certainly has improved in her ability to get up and yank, pull that ball down. Certainly got more aggressive. Both sides have not missed a shot.
A little altercation between Sasha Gay Henry and Kim Green.
McMahon free there, just not seeing her.
It's the whole 3-second thing, isn't it? Just wait till the 3rd second, especially with such a mobile circle. Big step in, McMahon.
When a game's tight like this, you often don't wait for that 3rd second. You tend to turn and do the safety.
Three and a half minutes left until quarter time. Jamaica lead Australia 12-10.
And Monia Gerard staying on Simone Forbes. I wonder whether she may mix it up and drop back and help Susan Furman out. (13-10) it is. Jamaica leading Australia. 3 minutes left in the first quarter as Medhurst tries to work the angles. Forbes and Bryan. And that big hook pass, but that was never on. It was to completely the wrong space. And Connie Francis should be frustrated with that. Bit of a mid-court zone now from the Jamaicans. It's really not something we often see, so you'd imagine it's something that Althea Byfield's taken home from ANZ Championships. A hand to it, but she's penalised. Time to tidy up for the Jamaican defenders. They're just getting pinged all over the show. And an important break there for Australia. Good, easy option from Von Berto. Yeah, McMahon taking charge, using the top of the circle. That brings the scores level again, 13 apiece. Jamaican pass. Sasha Gay Henry will use Evering, and they go again, the Jamaicans. And again, the big ball. Oh! They've always been described as unorthodox. I really don't know what you'd call that, though. That was spectacular. I actually thought it was stepping when she went down and got back up again, but I'm sure we'll get to take another look. Yes, we do. Catch, fall. She took both feet off the ground. Regather. Oh, well, a 10 for entertainment. Certainly a long way to fall. Nearly 2 metres, Tan. Bryan now. And a nice little fake. And Furman just showing her frustration. Getting so close to some of those big balls coming in. The Jamaicans try the bomb to get one more goal ahead, but it was probably never on. They've had a spectacular first quarter, though, have the Sunshine Girls. They've hit the Australians by storm, and they'll go to the first break ahead because at quarter time, it's Jamaica leading the world champion Australian Diamonds 15-13.
Quarter time at Thiagaraj Stadium in New Delhi, where the Sunshine Girls Jamaica have hit hard against the world champions Australia. They lead at quarter time 15-13. And it's been Tanya Dalton basically error-free for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. And for Jamaica, what's working for them? That big ball into Aitken. And, you know, Forbes and Bryan, two of the sensational feeders. They've found the little pocket. I think for Furman, she probably needs to be a little bit more mobile, come round. She's giving Aitken the front space. And Jamaica, that seems to be working.
There was plenty of chatter about the youth of Romelda Aitken and whether she'd be up to the pressure of a Commonwealth Games campaign. She's just 21, but she is surrounded by, as you say, Simone Forbes at 29 and Nadine Bryan at 33. So you're right, she's being nurtured beautifully at that attacking end.
And I guess it's different for her in this Jamaican side. Janelle Fowler, 21 years old. She's proven herself over the last couple of games. She's waiting on the bench. She's ready to go. So for Aitken, she's got a bit of pressure just to stay out there. And she's rising to it. The ball she's taking are fantastic.
Pressure on the Australian Diamonds heading into the second quarter because they trail. 15-13 the score is. Jamaica leading the world champions underway. Second stanza. Nat Medhurst, sure and steady. And good straight lines, Australia. They swing it.
And Sasha Gay Henry just sticking on Kimberly Green.
Call goes against Casey Evering. And Medhurst, clever little pass. They're quite tricky, those deceptive wee passes to your shooting cohort.
And the good thing about these two is, you know, they mix it up. They shoot long and then they do the little pass. So very hard to guess.
Oh, Forbes.
And I thought we may see Monia Gerard drop back and help out her buddy and Susan Furman, but she's sticking on Forbes. McMahon, free as a bird.
Just that amazing work off the ball, Sherelle McMahon, and so much speed, off the mark speed.
And I think for the Australians, you know, when they keep that vision on McMahon, she does pop through on that third second.
Forbes takes a look in and gets the instruction from her 21-year-old teammate, Romelda Aitken. Circle edge, Kimberly Green.
And the screen put up on by McMahon.
Medhurst finishes sublimely. And that draws the scores level, 16 apiece. McMahon will want to take them out into the lead.
And the faces say it all. And Simone Forbes up high.
And Romelda Aitken out of the circle. Should be interesting. And a turnover. We've got a -96 shooter. I don't know whether she needs to come romping around. Yeah, good dogged defence from the Aussie Diamonds.
And pouncing on those crumbs.
Susan Furman doing all she can and then some.
Yep, she's mixing it up. She was pushing Aitken up before and then there, sitting on the front. And I think that's probably the key for her.
And a super rare mistake at centre pass time from the Australians. Usually such a good understanding. Sasha Gay Henry, yeah, I thought she was going to give it the big bullet down court. Instead, we're in the goal third where Renee Hallinen's been penalised. And a tricky little evasive move into the circle from Simone Forbes.
It's interesting, the Jamaicans, every time, first option, Aitken, they look.
Now that is more of the signature ball speed that we're used to from this Aussie Diamond side.
Hallinan breaking on the centre pass, just a little bit over-eager.
No, and she'll be kicking herself because that's such wasteful possession. So penalties galore at the centre of the court. Monberto this time, and a lovely use of the away hand, Furman, but she's called for it.
Yeah, but she's mixing it up. She was moving around, not so stagnant this quarter.
Distance again, Gerard, and there's the big one. Oh. And Tanya, in our observations, we've talked about the other 21-year-old, about Janelle Fowler, the goal shooter who's on the bench for Jamaica. And one of the things that you felt was that she was just a little bit, airborne, the layup. She was just a little bit steadier than Romelda Aiken.
Yeah, and I'd say stronger in taking that ball, and I think her hands are probably better. Probably hasn't got the experience of Aitken. Well, she definitely hasn't, but certainly an option for Connie Francis if Aitken doesn't deliver. I find Aitken quite bandy and a little bit...
Well, we've certainly seen some balls just slip through her hands so far in this match. A chance for Australia to hit the lead.
And McMahon, that stop, that change of pace, just loses her defender every time.
Aiken's out of the circle again.
And I'm sure Furman could come out and get those ones where Aitken's coming out. She's not the quickest thing. Takes a while to wind those long limbs up.
That was a cunning little pass in just to the right space. But Romelda Aiken really must finish. Well, Sherelle McMahon just completely lost Althea Byfield.
Byfield's going to need to tighten it up again. Started well.
Obstruction called on so many occasions down this end of the court. So Nadine Bryan will get to set the penalty. Looks in. And Furman's on the charge.
She gets the pat on the back from Monberto, so she's doing it all she can.
Simone Forbes just about did the triple jump to end up right under the post and passes it on to Romelda Aiken. Time called by Paula Thompson, the centre for Jamaica. So a chance for both sides to take stock now. I'm sure there's nothing major.
I think the Jamaicans are renowned for
having a rest.
Time, yeah, regrouping.
So if you were Norma Plummer now, talking to her Aussie troops, Tanya, what would you be saying?
Look, I think down the attack end, it is starting to open up. McMahon and Medhurst seem to be free. I think it's that confidence to let the ball go to their shooters because they're slotting them down the other end. Susan Furman, you know, she's come out this quarter, she's more mobile, she's mixing it up on Aitken, and she's having some success. So they've just got to plug away. And I guess it's just that bringing it through court and looking down.
Plenty of chatter too in the Jamaican camp.
And this lady here, Althea Byfield, having a lot to say. Started so strong. I guess it's a matter of, do you chase McMahon or do you sit in the space and go for that intercept?
Well, if you're Althea Byfield, you do the latter because it's what she's best at. In fact, one of the best players in world netball when she's on the hunt. So Kimone Tulloch introduced at centre for the Jamaicans.
Again, just a basic dodge from McMahon, but losing Byfield.
Time for Byfield to change it up. And you're right, Tanya, let's see if she can. Just under 7 minutes left until half-time. 22-21, the Australian Diamonds just in front of Jamaica, the Sunshine Girls. And a good little dart along the baseline. She's called for contact, though.
And Furman's happy about that. She's saying, one to me.
Gerard looks for support, finds it in Hallinan. And the brilliance of Sherelle McMahon.
And Hallinan there, urging her captain to go back into the space.
Von Berto rallying her troops. Oh, and well seen.
And that constant chatter from McMahon.
And the frustration, the expression worn on the face of Althea Byfield. So the Aussies just put the foot down. And another. Nadine Bryan gets one back for the Jamaicans, and they need it because there's just a sense, Tanya, that someone's hit the on button for this Australian team.
And you can actually feel it, you can see it in the Aussie Diamonds body language. That urgency, led by this lady here, Sherelle McMahon. Australians going at 96%. Jamaicans also 96%. So when the balls are going into the circle, they're falling through the hoop nicely.
Just under 5 minutes left until half-time. 25-22 is the score. Australia over Jamaica. Clinical straight line attacking moves from the Australians this time. They set again through Hallinan.
And Hallinan being used a lot on that transverse.
Offside the call, so McMahon will look for help. And good simple options being taken by the Diamonds. Stunning ball speed, Australia. And pretty sublime finishing from Nat Medhurst.
And the Aussies leading the Jamaicans get that first phase on the centre pass. Then it's hands up.
And the rapid fire scoring of this Australian team, when they get a run on, so hard to stop. This time it's Casey Evering who's called time. The Jamaican goal defence, who we'll see in the colours of the Canterbury Tactics in the 2011 ANZ Championships. Going to take a bit of stock on the bench for now, though. And a foot race this time between McMahon and Althea Byfield. The replacement player on Georgia Gordon, 25 years old. I'm not sure really whether it's a tactical move. 3 minutes out from half-time.
Gordon was in the 2003 Jamaican team at the World Champs. So a bit of a veteran when it comes to netball.
Worked beautifully by the Aussie Diamonds. Nice and simple for Nat Medhurst. And that's the mark of this Australian team. Suddenly they're running rampant.
It's interesting to see Kimberly Green, I think, at wing attack. I thought Lauren Nurse may get the start, so she certainly put her hand up over the last couple of days, and she's certainly putting in some nice feeds.
Connie Francis looks on. She'll have plenty to say to her Jamaican team at half-time. Until just a couple of minutes ago, they'd led throughout. Norma Plummer, we always know she has plenty to say.
She actually looks a little bit flustered, doesn't she? A little bit hot. And the Australian defence certainly have tightened up on that ball going to Aitken.
Oh, McMahon makes it look so easy. Just that innate understanding. Pretty to watch. Ryan has another go. Susan Furman gets a hand to it. Nice defence, Australia.
Better hold there from Aitken, giving herself room on the baseline. Medhurst and McMahon.
Yep, they're making it look easy now. This lovely mobile combination.
Smiles on the faces, as you would do.
The big hook pass over to Brian. It's got some distance.
Must be so frustrating when you know the pass is going to go over your head and you just can't quite get it.
Such perfect little push passes though, aren't they? Well, that'll be the last act of the first half here at Thiagaraj Stadium in New Delhi, where the second quarter has utterly and completely belonged to the world champions, the Australian Diamonds. They trailed by 2 at quarter time, but boy, they're looking good at half time. They lead the Sunshine Girls 32-26 as we head to the half-time break. And Jamaica in the second quarter, former Silver Fern Tanya Dalton did belong entirely to Australia.
It did, and you just look firstly at the shooting stats there, 97% against the Jamaicans, 90%. I guess the big one, the deflections, 7 for Aussie. You know, they're picking up those crumbs, they're picking up the loose ball, and they're certainly going for everything.
So the teams in the sheds in front of this pretty good crowd. Actually, earlier today, the home side, the Indian team, were out on court, and so this wonderful gaggle of local supporters hits Thiagaraj Stadium. And Tanya, we actually went and sat with them for a while during that Indian game. They bring out the Bollywood moves. They've got it all going on. It's a really good atmosphere in.
Yeah, they could teach me a thing or two in the old dance moves, their natural rhythm, and they're enjoying it here, being in their home country, and netball here is only going to get better and improve.
A good collection of Australian fans as well in here for this crucial pool match between the Aussies and the Jamaicans. And the Jamaicans, we talked about their ability to turn up with a freakish performance, as we know they're more than capable of doing. Not so in that second spell. I mean, it must be so worrying for Coach Connie Francis when they go off the boil like that.
And yeah, that's what we talked about. You think of Althea Byfield, Casey Evering. They started this game just with an unbelievable connection. They were coming up with ball. They were making the Aussie Diamond shooters look hesitant. They came out and they didn't fire in that second quarter. And since there, we've seen the Aussies pull away.
So what now? If you were Connie Francis, what would you be saying? What would you be doing? Would you be throwing some bibs to other players?
Well, I think Althea Byfield's probably her most experienced defender in there. Casey Evering, I think, you know, she's gone off. You may see her injected back into the game, but, you know, for the Aussie attackers, McMahon and Medhurst, you know, the precision passing, the timing of their movement, and the feeders are just putting the ball into space. So it just seems to have opened up completely for them, and they seem to be able to do whatever they want in the last sort of 5-10 minutes.
At the other end of the court, the tall timber, Susan Furman up against Romelda Aiken, both standing at 1.96 m.
Furman, obviously at quarter time break, you know, she was given the instruction to mix it up, and she did. You know, it's tough. You're not going to get every ball that goes over to Aitken, but, you know, they've forced a few missed shots. She's got a couple of deflections off her. Monia Duran's come in and got the odd ball, so they're starting to break them down, and that's what they needed to do. I like how Furman is, you know, not only sitting in behind, she's marking front, she's swinging side to side, which is confusing the space for the Jamaican feeders to put the ball into.
She's becoming a much more complete player now, isn't she, Susan Furman?
She is, and you know, a few seasons ago she was probably more stagnant, and yeah, she'd get the odd ball over to the big shooters, but she's met her match out here today. She's got an opposition exactly the same height, who is athletic, can jump and can pull the ball in. So for Furman, you know, everyone she gets, you know, it's a little tick for her.
Well, on the bench, another player who's also 1.96 m, and Janelle Fowler, 21 years old. Do you think that we will see Connie Francis, the Jamaican coach, inject her into this match? Because you mentioned, I think the word you used was slightly spindly for Romelda Aiken, and against an opposition like Susan Furman, maybe the injection of Janelle Fowler may help things.
Yeah, and for Connie Francis, I guess it's a big decision. You've got Romelda Aiken here, so experienced, you know, been around for a long time now and played up against the world's best. Janelle Fowler, she's only just brought into the team against England last month, so a big decision for her. What I have seen of Janelle Fowler, I like her. I think she's athletic, her movement's more natural, and Simone Forbes, when you've got her out at goal attack, the way she can feed and put those balls in, I would probably make a change.
At quarter time here at Tiagaraj Stadium in New Delhi, it was the Jamaicans in front of Australia, 15-13. At half time, it's 32-26, the way of Australia. A second quarter turnaround that really, Tanya Dalton, can only be described as spectacular from the Diamonds.
Yeah, for the Diamonds, I think, you know, down there attacking in that first quarter, they weren't as, they didn't let it go, they didn't hold on till that third second when often McMahon was popping through free. They were passing it back to the transverse a lot. Now it just seems to have opened up, and you know, some of the moves, some of the set plays in the circle, the screens that Medhurst and McMahon are working together, it's certainly paying off for them.
Well, no doubt the Jamaicans will be contemplating changes to try and make some inroads into the deficit now. But what about Australia? For Norma Plummer, will the temptation be there? Her team leads by 6 goals, but they're really starting to look like they're gaining momentum against the Jamaicans.
Yeah, and 6 goals in netball is not a lot. I think if I was Norma Plummer down the attacking end, I would leave it because it is starting to hum. I guess Laura Geitz, I talked about her prior to this game. You know, she has certainly been in outstanding form in the 2 games that she's taken part in. I guess she hasn't got the height of Furman, but she's got that athletic ability, and she's more likely to come out and hunt because, you know, Jamaica are getting away with a couple of big diagonals, which Furman's not even having a look at, not even going for, because she's sitting on Aitken. So Geitz, I'm sure, would come out and hunt more.
Well, going into this match, the Australians have had a pretty easy road in. They beat Samoa 76-39, and then the host team, India, 113-18. Meantime, for Jamaica, well, they had a slightly tougher encounter, if you like, 75-36 against Trinidad and Tobago. And they played against another Caribbean type style of Malawi at 71-48. So the style of the Australians will be a challenge to them, because after two more flamboyant styles of play, it takes some adjusting.
Yeah, and the whole timing, the way the Aussies, it's more a flat, faster game. And I guess for the Jamaicans, it's have they got the legs to keep up with it, to keep up with the pace. They did it in that first quarter, but we saw a drop off in the second. So I'm sure Connie Francis will be racking her side up and getting them back out there. And Casey Evering, I think she probably will be injected back into the game after having a little bit of time on the bench.
The team's heading back onto centre court here at Thiagaraj Stadium in New Delhi. It's the most important game of the pool for the world champions Australia. They're up against the Sunshine Girls, Jamaica. And going into the third quarter, the Aussies lead 32-26. Nat Medhurst gets a few practice shots in. Not that she needs to worry too much. The Australians are running at 97%.
And Natalie Medhurst, you know, she's a player who previously we would have said maybe under pressure, didn't rise to it. But we've seen her previously just in the Silver Fern three-test series. And, you know, she rose to it. Her combination with McMahon is outstanding.
And Sherelle McMahon just having a communication with the umpire. She's more than entitled to as the captain. The captains are allowed to address the umpires at half-time and quarter-time if they want to not question their rulings, but perhaps just clarify how they are ruling or judging some of the altercations out on court.
And often that can put, you know, the idea into the umpire's head, just bringing it up, making them aware.
Third quarter begins. Thiagaraj Stadium, the world champions Australia up against the world number 4 Jamaica. It's the Aussies leading 32-26.
And no changes for the Australian side, and I was right in Jamaica. Casey Evering comes back on at goal defence.
And the Jamaicans start by getting one back. Sasha Gay-Henry, the player, stood down in a lovely duck along the baseline from Sherelle McMahon. Her work on the baseline is just magical, as goal shoot or goal attack. Forbes now uses Evering. And the call goes against Romelda Aiken, just pushing off with those long arms of hers. Oh. And that'll go against Monia Gerard.
And that's unlike Monia Gerard to have those slippery hands. Oh.
She's pretty solid when she goes in for full impact, Monia Gerard, so
she's not phased, she just looks down.
Simone Forbes, the captain of Jamaica, just getting a little bit of attention. She's played a lot of netball though, has Simone Forbes. I'm sure she's encountered far worse on the netball court. So we're not even a minute and a half into the third spell and already injury time. And both teams get to regroup again. The Aussies are keen to just get it done. No doubt they mean business.
And Gerard, I'm sure, will be pulled. Stand down.
Yeah, and the quarter scores really do tell a tale, don't they? The Jamaicans led by 2 at quarter time, and then the Aussies just had a fabulous 15 in the second. Thompson now. almost a Hail Mary into Aiken, but she comes up with it.
I can't believe Aiken does not want to put that up. Especially with the likes of a Monia Gerard around. His body's everywhere. Not even involved in the play.
Von Berto's circle edge. And there's the speed of this circle. They just, a perfect rotation, Tanya.
One pulls, the other goes. Just creates so much space.
Gerard has a stab. Hand to it, throw in Jamaica. So much inconsistency in the feeds that are being hoofed into Aiken.
And I guess you've got to look at the pressure being applied by the likes of Renee Hallinan, Natalie Von Berto.
But you'd have to say in Aiken's defence, she is holding a good space. It's just many of the passes going in are to completely the wrong space. Meantime, Kim Green nudges the ball baseline to Medhurst. Sublime. Great shooting.
Medhurst at this Commonwealth Games, 98% shooting average. You couldn't ask for much better. Well, I suppose you could. You could ask for a hundy, but I'm sure Plummer is extremely happy with her performance.
And there she goes again, trawling the baseline, McMahon.
And again, the screen put on by McMahon.
Jamaicans just about going backwards. And time called for the second time.
Yeah, and it looks like, here she comes, Janelle Fowler, 21-year-old.
And folks, she's exactly the same age and exactly the same height as Romelda Aiken, so we're not sure where they get them from. And how's that? Welcome. Slots it. Just under 11 minutes left until three-quarter time. 36-29. The Australians leading Jamaica. And Natalie Medhurst really all day has just made it look easy. So what can Jamaica do now? They have a new combination at the front end of the court. They just need to get the ball there through a wall of gold. Forbes now and Susan Furman working overtime. There's the take you talked about, Tanya.
Yeah, nice
Short
and easy.
steady.
Yep, straight up.
Uses her body to turn on the ball, protects herself from a player like Susan Furman. I think that's going to be a mighty exchange.
And I think more likely to put the shot up rather than worrying about, you know, those little passes.
And I guess the thing about those little passes as well is that for the rest of the team, when Romelda Aiken isn't prepared to shoot right under the post, it makes the rest of the team quite jittery and uncertain.
Well, when you know, for any defender, I don't know, I wasn't a defender, but when they work so hard to turn it over and get the ball down there.
Sasha Gay-Henry flies through the air.
Again, McMahon, Medhurst coming together, then splitting virtually at the same time.
And a dream to feed. There's almost always two options. Green now. And Medhurst out on her own side, so the Aussies stacked on the goal attack side. And that lovely little baseline pop from McMahon.
And her strength is, you know, that footwork in a confined space.
And just as quick as you like, all of a sudden the Australians are sitting comfortably on that 10-goal cushion.
Susan Furman, are you happy with that one?
Byfield has a go at defending the shooting arm of McMahon this time. But she looks just about unstoppable today, does Sherelle McMahon. Gerard used this time, centre pass Australia.
Not sure what that was, whether it was a step.
Or a breaking or some sort of transverse line infringement. Bryan and Forbes played a lot of netball together. And Fowler able to just gather it in. Halfway through the third quarter now, 41-31. The Australian Diamonds, the world champions, really starting to assert their dominance over the Sunshine Girls.
And Fowler mixing it up there, little roll, bit of movement.
And Simone Forbes there to back her up. McMahon outside the circle this time, uses Hallinan to reset. And one of her real signature moves, isn't it? The give and get.
Yeah, it's super duper fast. The thing is, she sells it that she's gonna shoot, then it's boomfa.
Nadine Bryan now, she'll need to go back. She does so with Sashige Henry. And Janelle Fowler just gets tangled. It was an awkward pass in.
Now, when you've got the defender sitting on your back, you just want it to drop in the pocket. Oh, Gerard on the drive, on the attack.
And they're not being bothered one iota on the way through court, the Australians, when they get a roll on. Well, I suppose
it was on.
Yeah, that achieved what Althea Byfield set out to achieve. Just think she might have frightened them into throwing the ball out the back door.
Gave it the big boo.
Pretty stop-start down this end of the court. Plenty of calls.
Oh, Bomberto having a crack.
Just a nice, simple pass. And good to see the understanding between Simone Forbes and Janelle Fowler. Oh, not enough on that, though.
No, and I guess Fowler, she needs to give herself room on that baseline.
And when you say that, Tanya, you mean start higher in the circle to buy yourself more space in behind?
Yeah, because so often as a shooter, when you get pushed off, and by the time you receive the ball, you're out the back. Just such a contrast, the ball going into the circle for the Australians. Flat, fast. Down the other end, the loopy
lollipop passes. And Green on the charge, so 2 passes into the circle.
And Green's impressed me today. She's not flashy, but she's done her job. Well, hit the circle edge, fed the ball nicely to Medhurst and McMahon.
It's one of the areas that you've talked about all tournament. Who is the Australian wing attack? Is it Nurse? Is it Kim Green?
Yeah, and I probably would have gone for Nurse from what I have seen prior to this Commonwealth Games, but Green, she certainly has come to the party today in her combination with Von Berto.
3.5 minutes until three-quarter time, and the Australians really asserting themselves. Byfield gets one back, but it's 46-33, the Aussies leading Jamaica.
Oh, Helen.
And Nadine Bryan just not able to scoop the ball back on court. Pretty spectacular stuff, though. And a good little duck through and a good exchange between Green and McMahon. This is the second big pool game here in Delhi today. The first one was earlier today on day 4 when New Zealand beat England, but Tanya Dalton, it was a tough old challenge, wasn't it?
It was. Three-quarter time, we were down
1 goal, New Zealand were down.
Probably hadn't picked that one, but you know, they came good, the Silver Ferns. We're under pressure for a while. And another turnover for Byfield.
She's had some real flashes of brilliance, has Althea Byfield, just the consistency. And Tanya, you touched on it going into this match. It needed to be a 60-minute performance.
Yeah, and I'm afraid it hasn't been. You know, that first quarter I thought outstanding, but then sort of went missing in that second quarter.
Well, after the first quarter, the Sunshine Girls actually led the Australians 15-13. But it's been one-way traffic since then. Simone Forbes comes up short, but they'll get the throw in, Jamaica.
I guess the Silver Fern girls will be watching with interest. Not only the Australian side, but the Jamaicans who they will come up against in the semi-finals.
Well, we know they're watching because they're here at the stadium, the Silver Ferns, also the English. So some good reconnaissance going on, that's for sure. Oh, Green, stunning pass. An amazing movement through court, Australia.
And just that finishing off, McMahon knowing her teammate Medhurst, you know, she was going to pop through on that third second.
And Nat Medhurst takes a page out of Sherelle McMahon's copybook and does her trademark dart along the baseline.
And the shooting statistics for Australia, 98%.
It's been another stunning quarter for Australia, has the third spell. They trailed at quarter time, 15-13 did the Australians, and then they charged through the second spell to lead 32-26. At three-quarter time, well, they've grown that lead even more, have the world champion Australian Diamonds. And they'll head to the last break in this match ahead of Jamaica, the Sunshine Girls, 49-35. getting set for the start of the fourth quarter between Australia and Jamaica, and it's the Aussies who have dominated despite trailing at quarter time. Their second and third quarters, Tanya Dalton, simply stunning.
Yeah, and I guess look at the shooting percentage, 98% for the Australians, 90% for the Jamaicans, but yeah, just a complete performance. Only 9 turnovers for the Australian side heading into the final quarter, so that's also pretty strong.
Australian coach Norma Plummer chats away to her troops. She'd wanted this team to be categoric in its display today, and they've certainly delivered so far.
Yeah, and you can see them all in tune. They're listening to Norma. She's got a lot to say.
And you're surprised by that, Tan?
No. And in contrast, the Jamaican bench.
Yep, Althea Byfield gazes up at the scoreboard. They know that they've got some pretty massive inroads at 49 to 35, 14 goals to make up.
Well, I guess for them, they'll want to finish strong. Medhurst, this lady, she can take a bow. I think, you know, she's had an impressive season. Every time she's come out for the Aussie Diamond side this year, she's been in outstanding form. And you can just tell by her whole, you know, her body language, her facial, she's grown in confidence. And when you're playing with someone like Sherelle McMahon, you can only feel pretty good.
We're into the last 15 minutes of play between Australia and Jamaica. The Australians dominant so far. They lead 49 to 35.
And a few changes for the Jamaican side. Nicole Aitken, sister of Romelda Aitken, comes on at goal defence.
Probably good to have fresh legs on defence against this mobile unit of McMahon and Medhurst. And a rare miss.
Interesting, Norma Plummer letting this combination run this game out. And Anna Kay Griffiths comes on at goal attack. She was new to the side just in the recent series to New Zealand and Australia.
And the other 1.96 metre shooter.
If you didn't notice, they look quite similar.
Romelda Aitken re-injected into the game. So changes galore, and you know, you have to admire the Jamaican coach, Connie Francis, because really all of those lulls, second and third spell, have meant that her side really has lost a grip on this match. Still, a quarter's a long time in netball, as we know, and if anyone can, the Jamaicans can. Umberto needs to return to the transverse line, and this time it's McMahon out of the circle.
The Australians just so slick in the execution.
Byfield set the trap. It was run into, but she was penalised. And stepping called this time. So just those little errors creeping into the Jamaican game. Green, could have been so stunning. Just a bit much on it.
Australia tight, man-on-man defence. Well, Hallinan, you know, we haven't seen any startling intercepts, what we're used to her of doing, but I guess she has set up a lot of ball for the likes of Furman and Gerard to come through for. She's a tall wing defence.
Such a signature of Sherelle McMahon's. And she's so casual about it. She just makes it look so easy.
Casey Williams and her fellow defenders will be watching that, the way they come in and then they split. Just the timing of it is sensational.
Furman does all she can against Romelda Aiken. She forces her into passing, and now the Jamaicans try to work their way into a better shooting position. Can't get much better than that.
You see the overload on the centre pass. Oh, and that was a set move. Gerard on the drive.
Yep, and check out that pass. Perfect. Good control. Eventually. And Romelda Aiken just not keen to shoot from any distance from the post.
One, two, three.
It's
so
just
simple.
Quick fire, isn't it? And that's the thing about this Australian game plan. You use the word simple. It's just the basics of netball executed brilliantly. Here's a zone from Australia. We've seen this in a couple of their pool matches. And a prong defence.
Furman, though, just getting pulled up, arms out.
And you talk about the hybrid game brought about by the ANZ Championship. I think it's fair to say that 5 years ago, you would never see a green and gold defensive unit throwing a zone out.
No, and yeah, like you say, it's, you know, they're mixing up the game plans. They're doing it effectively. I guess with the class of, Aitken getting her hands to that one. Yeah, and that's the thing about the Australian Diamond side. We're always renowned for that tight man-on-man defence. And they do that so well, but they can mix it up.
Well, in the previous pool matches as well, Tanya, defensively, we've not only seen the prong defence, which we just saw implemented on court now, but we've also seen both Furman and Gerard split the circle in close proximity, and also Laura Geitz, when she was on, split the circle.
That's right, and for a player like Furman a few seasons ago probably wouldn't have had that ability. So it just shows that, you know, the way the game is changing, the athletic ability, you know, the need to be able to hunt, to be able to tight mark, to mix it up. And yeah, it's fantastic to see the way this game of netball is going.
As a New Zealand netball fan, though, it is slightly ominous, because you think, oh, if they can do more than just man-on-man marking, it adds a whole other facet to the Australian game.
Yeah, and saying that for the for the New Zealand girls, you know, we used to struggle. We were never as good as the Aussies as tight man-on-man marking. You now look at the Silver Ferns, look at their athletic ability, their body types. You know,
right.
We can match them one for one, and I think that's a real strength of, you know, the Silver Ferns game now.
So it rubs both ways.
It does.
Meantime, just under 8 minutes left in this match, and the Australians just holding comfortably onto their 10-goal advantage. They lead 53-43 over Jamaica.
She fixes her pony. And 4th Commonwealth Games for Sherelle McMahon. 112th Test match.
And she gets a good drop to the head for her troubles. Oh, the split.
Oh, Furman. The deflection on the shot.
Deemed out of court, though. But yes, a brilliant piece of defensive work, Susan Furman.
And yeah, her face did it all.
And a held ball.
Green, a nice drive down into the corner. Her footwork has been fantastic.
Byfield a hand to it. We've seen her do some absolutely brilliant things, Althea Byfield, but then her head's gone down. She's looked a little despondent if the umpire's calls have gone against her. Pressure on from Aiken, but she's called. Breaking.
No,
not breaking.
No,
Not wholly in the centre circle.
Yeah, one of those pedantic rules that we all love, not.
Tulloch now swings it across court.
And Aitken with the big arm out.
And a good space held, Romelda Aiken. Eventually the Jamaicans finish, so that's one back for them and the centre pass. But this will just restore that 10-goal cushion if they're able to convert it. No man's land. And once again, great pressure from Susan Furman. It wasn't just a stray pass, that was Furman holding her ground and forcing Romelda Aiken to the outskirts of the goal circle. The first jump was a good one from Nicole Aiken, the rest too close.
And Green gets that away. First Commonwealth Games for Kimberly Green. Her mum represented Australia 40 years ago in swimming, so. And happy times for Kimberly Green. Just before these Commonwealth Games, she got engaged. Yeah. So a big congratulations to her. As the Aussie bench look on, they know that their team, with 4 minutes remaining, are cruising towards a solid win over the Sunshine Girls, Jamaica. I think after the first quarter, when the Jamaicans led by 2, Tanya, it was pretty salivating, this prospect, but really the Australians have just been completely dominant. Yeah. And their build-up, I guess they had the 3-test series against the Silver Ferns where they were triumphant in that third test. They spent a week in Malaysia on the way to Delhi.
Time called this time by Georgia Gordon. And as you say, they should just, when Jamaica play, just ride a couple of timeouts into each quarter.
Connie Francis with her hands on her hips.
And she'll have plenty to say, because I guess the important thing now for this Jamaican side is that they finish strongly.
Yeah, well, that, again, this is pool play. And, you know, they'll still be looking to push through and come through second in the pool. And then I guess it's crossover time, which will obviously be New Zealand. So, you know, still a long way to go.
And for the Jamaicans, well, up tomorrow, as you can check out the score by quarter here in this clash. Jamaicans tomorrow come up against Linda Wagner's side, Samoa,
who had that narrow loss yesterday.
An absolute heartbreaker against Trinidad and Tobago. They lost 51-50 with a couple of questionable umpiring calls at the end. Perhaps not going in their favour, but that's the nature of our game.
Yeah, the closest encounter we've had here. It was so exciting.
Underway again with just over 3 minutes left in this match.
Again, some tidy little footwork from Medhurst. And just McMahon and Medhurst, the vision, the way they look to each other, first option, which is, you know, rule number one as a shooter.
And as a circle combination as well, T, the invisible thread. You know, it takes such a long time to develop. And you mentioned Nat Medhurst, you know, not the most experienced player when you compare her to Sherelle McMahon, but she's 26 years old, so she's got a good mature head on her. This is her 24th Test cap today, but when you compare it to Sherelle McMahon, who, as you said, this is her 112th Test cap today. She's 33 years old, 4 Commonwealth Games.
Flag bearer for Australia. Yeah, an unbelievable athlete, Sherelle McMahon, and I guess for any young shooter watching, and the movement,
yeah,
the way she can mix it up, move that ball. You know, look at down the other end, Jamaica, they, if in doubt, they just put the bomb in. You can't do that with a combination like Medhurst and McMahon, so they are constantly working. Always an option to the ball carrier. And as a feeder, there'd be nothing better than feeding those two.
Tulloch for Jamaica. No, gives it to Griffith as the penalty set.
There it is.
Yeah, just
the
stunning.
switch, yeah. One goes one way, the other goes the other.
Pretty good numbers when you looked at the shooting stats we just saw on our screen. Then Australia 92%, Jamaica 90%. That's pretty impressive, Tan.
It certainly is in this game of netball, but I guess for any international team, you know, look at Irene van Dijk. She's been sitting on 96% for this Commonwealth game, so that's what coaches are asking of their shooters.
Aiken picks up the pieces and nets it easily from right under the post. And Norma Plummer finally sitting back in her chair. She'll be more than happy with her team's performance.
I think that was Natalie Medhurst's first miss with 30 seconds to go.
Imelda Aiken just gets turned inside out.
And Furman again having success.
Yeah, she's had brilliant success today, Susan Furman. Really contained the Jamaican weapon, Imelda Aiken. And in their most testing clash of these Commonwealth Games, it's the Australians who've dominated the Sunshine Girls. Jamaica at full time, it's 60-46. After a rampant last 3 quarters of this match, the world champions, Tanya Dalton, boy, they mean business.
They did, and you know, pretty tough start for them. The Jamaicans, they came out firing. Like we said, you never know whether they're going to turn up, but they did in that first quarter. But to the Australian Diamonds' credit, you know, they plugged away, and then eventually it opened up. And I think out there we've seen the starting 7 for Norma Plummer for the big one.
Well, you can see on the wide shot there, just the gaggle, the pocket of Australian supporters. They're on their feet to applaud their Australian side for Jamaica. Well, as they head towards the semi-finals, they'll have a lot of thinking to do as we crunch the numbers, Tan.
I guess the big one, you know, for Australia, 91% shooting efficiency. You know, still good for Jamaica, 88, but the turnovers, 13-19. So, you know, they were clinical in their approach, the Australians, in the way they didn't do anything silly. They kept it simple, and the penalty count there, interesting, 79-81.
So even, but a whole lot of whistle.
Pretty physical encounter.
Yep. Well, the performance that we saw from Jamaica, it's always unorthodox, that move in particular.
Oh, look, Aitken, you know, she's such a big target, but for the likes of Susan Furman, Monia Durant, they wore her down, they shut it down. I think you've got to look at Von Berto and Helenen, the pressure they put on the ball coming into the circle, and that certainly helped them out. So.
And Sherelle McMahon, in combination with Nat Medhurst, just spectacular. Good to see the injection of the young Jamaican shooter, Janelle Fowler, but really this was a match that belonged to the Australians and to Nat Medhurst and Sherelle McMahon. They really were unstoppable.
Yeah, the way they move, I guess if you're watching this shooting combination and you're trying to work them out, I think you'd struggle because there's so much variety there in the way they split the circle.
Well, that's the Australian pool as it stacks up, and this victory just so important to their Commonwealth Games campaign. And it was a victory that came under the watchful eye of not only England, but we just got a big wave from Katrina Grant on her way out, the young Silver Ferns defender. So all eyes on this match.
Certainly. Well, you know, the New Zealand team will be looking like they'll play Jamaica in the semi-final and then leading to the big one.
Well, they would have learned plenty from this one, that's for sure, but it's been the Australian Diamonds who've dominated the Sunshine Girls, Jamaica. Final score 60-46 from Thiagaraj Stadium in Delhi.